Hey, I'm Katie Earl. I'm an engineer, producer, and mixer, and I'm based in the UK. A lot of my work is based in Pro Tools, so I thought today I'd do a really simple tutorial on how to get going with a session, organising it, and start some really simple recording, editing, and mixing. So as you can see, I've already brought up Pro Tools by just clicking on the Pro Tools icon down here. And then I can either open up a previous project from this dashboard or make a new one, like I'm going to do now. So I'm just going to call it MPW PT tutorial. And then I'm going to keep it on my local storage. I'm going to use WAV files, 24-bit and 48K. So at this point, it's a good idea to have had your interface turned on before opening up Pro Tools if you're using an external interface. And we need to now just double check that the sample rate is matching. So I can either do that in my interface's software down here. And as you can see right down in the corner, 48 is selected. So we're all good on that front. Some interfaces you can also do it on the hardware itself. So yeah, it's good to have that all sorted now because hopefully then Pro Tools should automatically connect to your interface. But I'll show you how to check that once we're in. So the final thing is to check the location where you want to save it. I've already got that sorted, so let's just go ahead and click create. So we got our blank Pro Tools session. And as I said, let's just double check that our Playback Engine is all set up all right. So go to Setup, Playback Engine. And as you can see, the UAD I'm using is already selected. Sometimes when you open a project, you may start trying to play something and you can't hear anything or the outputs won't select. Usually a good first place to check is that the Playback Engine is selected correctly. So for time's sake, we're just going to do a really quick overdub of a guitar on a track I've already been working on. So we need to go ahead and import that as a backing track. So file, import, audio. As you can see, there's loads of shortcuts for everything here. Really useful to get to grips with those, makes life a lot quicker. But just for now, I'm not going to go into those too much. So this is the track we want to import. And we can either add or copy. So this can get a little confusing sometimes what the difference is. So in order to explain, I'm going to quickly show you the folder structure that Pro Tools uses. So when we created a project under this name, it created a top folder that within it then has the session file we're working off, along with all these other folders. So the one I'm going to talk about is audio files. This is where any recorded audio will automatically get saved to. And when you open up a Pro Tools session, that's where it will search for the audio for that session from. So sometimes you may open it up and it says can't find audio. Usually the biggest cause of this is because the file isn't within that folder. So here, if we add, that means we're just adding the audio to the session, but without copying it into the session's audio files folder. If we copy, then we get over that issue. And so that's what we're going to do today. Means that when we open up again, there should be no issues with finding that audio. So I'm going to have a new track, and we'll just put it at the session start. So let's just make this a bit bigger. You can also change the waveform size here, which can be useful. One shortcut that is useful to know, zoom in and out, R and T. So I'm going to rename this track, just double clicking up here. Let's call it backing track. Also going to change colour, double click here. This can be super useful when you have loads of tracks in and able to distinguish what's what then. And if we go to the output, already looks like it's selected, which is good. That's the main monitor left up right I want. So let's just test that that's working. So I click here. Cool, so we got sound coming through. As you might have seen at the moment, I've got this cursor that keeps switching depending where I click on my audio track. So I can either select the whole file, select a portion of it, or click where I want to play back from, and also trim and fade in and out. This is because up here I've got the multi-tool selected. If I just went into one of these, this is just my cursor, this is the hand grab, and there's the trimmer. So different people like different things. I'll keep it on multi-tool for now. So the next step is I'm going to get a click track in that we can record to. So if I go to track, click track, automatically creates as a track with this click insert on. I can now change the sound if I want. So I'm going to have a marimba. So let's just solo that and hear that come. Great. So that's all working. You might have seen the solo here is faded out. That basically means it's solo safe. So if I soloed anything else in the project, this would still stay soloed even though I haven't manually clicked on it. In order to stop that happening, I hold Command and just click over it. But I'm going to keep it for now. So let's change the tempo. We can just do that up here. This is quite a slow track, so 53. As you can see, all the bar lines have changed now. Sometimes you might open a project and can't see all these lines, and that's probably because grid is turned off right there. So now let's just get a balance for the click and the backing track. We can do this in a couple of ways. Pro Tools uses two different windows. We've got the edit window that we're in right now, and we've also got this mix window. So the mix window, essentially you can do pretty much the same things, but it's set up more like a kind of traditional mixing desk. So we can either do our volumes on the faders here, or we can do them here. And our pans, we can either go in here, or in the mix window, go and do them around here. So now let's get some tracks to record to. So we're going to go up here, tracks, new, I'm going to have 2. We're doing a really simple, one mic on the amp, one mic in the room. So both mono and audio tracks. Drag these to the bottom. So let's call this one guitar amp. I'll call this guitar room. I'm going to group these tracks. Just makes life a lot easier when we're editing and then also recording. So you can turn that group off just down here and keep it on. Color code. And then check my inputs. So my labeling's a bit weird, but this is 1 and this is 2, so that should be good. As you can see, the grouping has grouped our solos, but you can change that within the settings what you want to be grouped. And you can see it selects both tracks instead of 1. So let's check we've got some sound coming through. Great. So now let's find where we're recording from. So I think it's around here. I'm going to go and put a marker in here so it's easy for us later to work out where we're starting our recording from. So let's try this. Cool. So it's the start of 34 that we're going to be starting our recording. So I want to put a bar before it. Just means we've got a bit of lead in. So you might see at the moment my cursor is just going wherever I want. Sometimes you might want it to snap to these grids. So if I just hit grid, now wherever I click, it will go to the closest grid line. So I'm going to add a marker up there. We'll call it record start. And now we click on our tracks, record on them, and I can either start the recording by hitting spacebar or just clicking up on the playback here. Cool, so let's just do a first take.
There's something in the air.
Great, so let's just get one more take that we can edit between. So if I just click on the arrow here and new, because they're grouped, it just means they both can create a new playlist. And let's go for a second take.
Something in the air.
Great, so now we've got 2 takes. We can edit between these. Turn off the record arm. If I can remember from the top of my head, I think the first one we had a bit of a mess up in the middle, right here. Yeah, so I know I definitely want the other one from that, but I think this little section was quite good, so. So I'm just going to slip. It gives me a bit more freedom. I can select this. I'm going to copy, and then on a new playlist, I'll just paste it on there. And then from the more recent take, let's take the end and the start. As you can see, it's slightly behind the beat here, so I can just drag it. Don't want it too much. So now let's just fade between these. A few ways we can do this. We can either highlight, click F. We can get to the multi-tool and down here, do it like that. Or we can also, again, highlight, go up to Edit Fades. And then we've got this window here where we can just choose a bit more about how we want our fade to look. So let's just test that quickly. Yeah, so those are fine for now. I'm going to put a fade in. And I'm going to do a fade out. So now it's just quickly, I'll get a balance and work the pans out. Cool. So I want it kind of a bit floaty, so I'm going to pan it all over the place. And let's then make a bus for these, because then it will make it a lot easier for any processors we put on to this guitar. We can just do it to one track instead of both of these individual ones. So if I hold Shift and Alt, it basically means whatever I'm about to do will happen for all the channels that are highlighted. So I'm going to go to the output and click New Track. This is a really good way of creating new buses, for example. So I'm going to call this bus that we're going to have it going to just my guitar hook. So as you can see, it's created a new channel and automatically set the outputs to the inputs of this new channel. So I'll just put that under the same color. And on here, we're going to just do some really simple EQ to clean it up a little bit and just bring out some of the top end, and then maybe a bit of compression. Let's have a little listen. So something to note on these compressors like the BF76 or similar, it can be quite easy to not realise when you first use them that one doesn't relate to the quicker time. So just be aware of that. It's actually the faster attack time is 7, as is the release. Something that I didn't know for quite a while. Great, and then my final effect. I just want to widen this out, make it feel quite floaty, and I'm just going to use this waves doubler on it. Great. Final thing I'm going to do is just put some kind of effect on it, probably a spring, reverb, or an echo. So I'm going to show you how to create a separate aux, like send. So we go track new, and I'm going to have stereo aux. And I'm going to just call this effects for now. So I'm going to make the bus input just number 1, and from the send here, let's do 1. So as you can see, if I go back to the mix window, all of this is happening in here as well. So you can really choose what works best for you. So yeah, if I click on the send, I've got a few options. I can either bypass it, make it pre-phase, among a lot of other different functions. So I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. Let's put in our, I'm going to go for an Echo Boy, because I'm a big Sound Toys fan. And I'm just going to use a preset for now. Let's go down to, I think, the Surf Spring. There it is. So I'll put it quite obnoxiously loud so you can hear it. So now let's get a master bus up so we can create a bounce. So again, new track, stereo, and down to master. And I'm just going to put a little bit of EQ and a limiter on it. So I'm going to go to a louder part of a track. Here we go. And then check it over where we just recorded. Cool. So for now, I think that's great. Let's just do a bounce so we've got something. So what I need to do is select the area that I want time-wise for my bounce to be, which let's just link it to the backing track. So if I go up to, well, before that, something that's easy to forget is to turn off your click. That you can either do there or just mute it. Otherwise, we'll get that bounce to our audio file. So I'll go to File, Bounce to Disk, the right bounce source, our main output is selected. I'm just going to do a 48K 24-bit WAV. I'll keep the name, we've got it bounce 1. And then it's already chosen the right place for me, basically, the bounce files folder that I showed you earlier. And then I'm just going to bounce that and keep it offline for now, just for time. So when that's done, if I go to the file, it'll pop up there. As you can see, it's already there, but we wouldn't be able to play it quite yet. So yeah, I hope this tutorial was of some use to someone. Really just showing you the essentials you need to get going with a session, and from there I'm sure you'll get quicker and quicker the more you do. So I just want to say a big thanks to Music Production for Women for having me and asking me to do this video. And yeah, I hope it was of some use.